Hello there. Hello to you all, and welcome to another episode of T Wade's To the Point, where we get to the point of the matter. We get to discuss things openly. We get to talk about what's important, and the conversations may veer off. We may start at point A and end up at point P. That's okay because we are here to talk and get things off our chest and get to the point of the matter. So, Happy New Year's to you all. I hope you all are having a great New Year thus far. We are in 2024. Listen, a lot of people did not make it to 2024. So, want to say welcome to 2024. Welcome to a whole new year where you get to attempt, where you get to literally do the things that you couldn't do. You got goals to achieve. So here you are. We are 3 days into this year and all's well. Can't complain. Can't complain. I mean, could, but everybody's got a complaint nowadays, don't they? It's all good. It's all good. My attempt today was to talk about authoring. We got a lot of authors out there, and this was supposed to be a period in time where we were supposed to be talking about authors as well, and talking about what it is that their lives are, what it is that they go through on a regular. So, by all means, we want to talk. We definitely want to talk about that. You know, um, how y'all doing out there in Facebook land? Yeah, listen, it's a new year. I need to tell you already, 3 days in, I'm tired. Already, I'm tired. The new year is hitting hard already, but it's okay because I'm ready for it. I got the motivation. I'm ready to go. We are going to do this year. This year is going to be working for me. I'm not working for the year. The year's working for me. So we're going to work this year. We're going to do everything we can to make it all that it needs to be, all that it's supposed to be. Big things planned for the year. Are we going to achieve them? By the grace of God, I hope to. I'm believing in that. I'm believing that we are going to do what needs to be done, get things the way they need to be for 2024. So, how's everybody doing out there today? How's everybody feeling? How's everybody feeling today? Look at who we got here. We have Kaixa. Kaixa, the lovely, the wonderful, the talented Kaixa has decided to join us on our show today.
Hey,
How you doing today, Kaixa?
hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing. Like I was telling people, I'm tired.
I
Three
feel that.
year, 3 days into the year, and I'm tired already. I'm tired already,
Listen, you
and we
can't be
got
tired
another 300 and some odd years to go. 300 and some odd days to go. So,
360 something days to go. Come on, baby.
woo,
You tired already.
counting it down, tired already, because we're putting in the work, doing what needs to be done,
Yeah.
trying to get things accomplished, even
Yes,
in the mindset. Even in the mindset, it takes energy. It
that
just
it
takes
does.
energy.
That it does.
So,
That it does.
so today we want to talk about. I thought it'd be a great idea because what my wife did, if y'all didn't know, Kaixa's my wife, my lovely, beautiful wife, whom I am well pleased. Um, but she threw a curveball at us last Monday, this past Monday, and had me on the show. I thought I was just co-hosting, but she decided she was going to interview me. So, which was a privilege and an honor to even be on her show, let alone be interviewed by her. But I figured I'd return a favor. So we're going to interview
Oh, you think you're
Kai
so.
Iksa. We are going to interview Diamond Butterfly. We are going to. I mean, she has more names than I care to mention. But
Stop it.
oh, she does. But she learned them all. She does her thing. So, Kaiksa, how's the year going for you so far?
So far, 2024 is going pretty well. I can't complain. I have no complaints. You know, like I said, we're only 3 days in.
3 days in.
Trying to get my footing with a few things. You know, forgot the dates already on a couple of things, but it's okay. We're going
Okay.
good. We got we're situating the office space here, getting everything situated so everything is where I need it to be. So I have my planner, my planner. You know, so I know what are we supposed to do today. We're gonna have Alexa tell me, you know, what we're supposed to do today. Yeah, we're gonna get things going.
Now, see, that's what I need to do. I need to put an Alexa up in the man cave. That's what I need to do. I need
Yeah,
to do that. That is a goal for 2024. Alexa, gotta get her. Gotta
we're gonna
get her.
have my Alexa now start
She
talking to
works well for you. She works well for you, though.
She does. She does. When I utilize her, she
When
works
you
very well.
utilize her.
You know,
You know what? I saw a post somebody made where they was upset because Alexa got a little too frisky with her husband. Like it was really funny, but I mean, oh my goodness, the stuff that Alexa's doing and saying right now is crazy. But I would have her in the man cave. I have her in the man cave because, I need that memory thing. I need somebody to back me up here when I'm busy working. Tony,
right.
time to write a chapter in the book. Tony, time to write
Yeah.
those 2 songs. Tony, you know what I mean?
Right.
Trying to get that going. So that's a goal. 2024. Tony gets an Alexa for the man cave.
There you go. There
I
you go.
don't always allow women except for the Wizzle. I don't normally try to allow women up in the man cave. But I'll let Alexa up here. She gonna help me. She'll be my like digital, my AI secretary, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll allow that. I
Okay.
think I'll
You
allow
gonna
that.
allow that? You gonna allow that? Okay,
I'll
as
allow
long as you allow that, that's what matters. So
that.
let's get to the point.
Okay.
Taisha, when
Yes.
I when I I'd known you for a few years before I think you actually did your first book.
No.
But
Well,
no.
you did. You knew me several years before I wrote my first book, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't in, yeah. Yeah, you did.
Okay. Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into this book. Let us know what the name is. Let us know how you came about writing this book, which for those that don't know, it's supposed to be a 5-part series. And when she broke it down to me, people, oh my goodness, like she had the details to all 5 books, which was crazy because that's normally not a thing that, she had her 5 books planned out. She had the characters planned out. So, Taisha, tell us a little bit about your process. Tell us how you got to actually start with this book.
So, like you, writing has been a part of my life for as far back as I can remember. Just writing started with journaling, my way of processing my life and the things that I was going through. Then I started writing poetry. I got in high school. I got really into. For some reason, I thought I was going to be a lawyer because as my husband knows, I like to debate. He likes to call it argue, but I like to debate. I like to call it debating.
It's hard sometimes. She gets intense. She gets intense with it.
I
She gets
do.
intense.
I get intense. I get intense. And so I mean it went from there. I started doing poetry. And then right shortly after high school, probably I was 19, 20, somewhere around there. No, sorry, scratch that. Around 2000. Around
Mm,
the year 2000. I hooked up with James Lewis, Woo Bear Productions, for those of you who know him as that. He was part of the record store. He was part of this local music scene, DJ at Stick and stuff like that. Still is a DJ at Stick. And he put together what was then it was Gumbo Live. I can't even remember. There was so many different things. He would do this thing where he brought in artists from all around the country and they would perform and stuff like that. So I started performing my poetry there. Met a lot of local big people here in the poetry scene. And
hmm
I started doing my poetry then. There was a couple of things before that, but I can't quite remember the name of them, where I, threw my hat into the singing ring and kind of got shut down by people who said my voice was too big. Back then, I didn't have the fear that I have now. I just kind of went for it and I just sang my heart out. And you were like, girl, you too loud. You too, your voice is too big. I don't think, it's quite what we're looking for this. And it wasn't like it was a professional stage. It was kind of like an open mic type thing, what we call open mic now, regular old people singing. But so that kind of shut that down for me. And I just kind of switched over to poetry. And so I did my poetry. And at that point, poets were starting to write books. They started doing poetry books. So I decided I was going to join the bandwagon and do a poetry book. But my therapist was like, no, you should write your story, like write your life story. She kept telling me I was doing better than other people that she knew who had been through what I had been through. And, I should share my journey. I didn't think I was anything special. I was like, don't nobody want to hear about the crap that I've been through. But I decided that I would try. I was figuring out all these different ways that I could incorporate my poetry in my life. Like we talked about doing like a 365-day inspirational phrases. We, thought about doing things like that. I did sit down and try to write my life story, but my life is a big jumbled ball of yarn in my head. I have issues with knowing what happened next, like what led from here to there and where did I go. So trying to sit down and write it was very, very hard. So what I did, long story short, instead was I created a fictional version of my life with different characters that represented different parts of my life or people's lives around me. And it started off with one book, Beautiful. And Beautiful was just, kind of this introduction to me as an author.
Okay.
It kind of went, people really liked it. They wanted to know, well, what happened to this person and where did they go? So then from that, it turned into, I was like, okay, well, there's 5 lead characters. I'll do 5 books and I will dive more. In my head, it was 5 characters, 5 books, but it wasn't. Some of the characters were married. Some of the characters ended up together. So it didn't quite work out the way I thought in my head, like a book per character. It didn't quite work out that way. But it's still 5 books. It's kind of like I liken it to like a TV series where there's this kind of ongoing story with the main characters, but there's background stuff that is going on as well. So you could read book 1, you could, jump in with book 3 and you wouldn't be too lost because the story does continue. So that's kind of where we are. Book 1 and 2 is out. Beautiful and Beautiful Seduction, that's book 2. They are both out and available. Book 3, which is Beautiful Innocence, I'm just waiting to get the cover done, get the people together hopefully this month, get the characters together, because I didn't want to do stock art. I ran into so many issues with book 1 with the cover. It was crazy. Like, me and a local author had the exact same cover. Then me and this author in California had this. Every time I switched it, somebody else had the exact same cover because we were just using stock art. I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So then I put my face on the cover, and I did that for a while. But I really, really wanted characters, a cover that talked about the characters in the book that were the main focus of that book. So that's where book 1 came from. And now I have 3 actual people on the cover. For a while, there was 1 stock art picture because I couldn't quite find anybody with locks that wanted to be on a book cover.
Really?
It took years. The whole time we've been together, I've been trying to find that person. So it's crazy. But I have it now. I have those people. I have that last person now. Toonleaf, the Rambler, is on the book. One of my longtime friends, Trisha, she's on there. And then AJ Bayman, he is the other person that is on book 1. And then Book 2 is Reese and Grace Clark. They are actually a married couple. They portray the couples for that book. And then
Mhm.
book 3, I have Havoc, who's a local artist, Mela, who's a model. And then we just happened to meet this one guy somewhere. His name is John Carlos, and I absolutely loved his name and asked him if he wanted to be a character in the book. He said, yes, that's what I got to do. That reminds me, I need to change my character because I really, really love his name. And I wanted to change my character to his name.
I was gonna say, like, that name got me when we met him. I was like, you know what?
Oh my gosh.
I think I want to use that name because that name was hot. But
It is.
you got him first. It's
I
okay.
haven't changed it. I mean, we could talk about it,
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. But yeah, like the name was hot. Like I'll walk around, even at work. If I meet somebody, they tell me their name. If it's one of those off offbeat names or one of those unique names, I'm
Yes.
quick to let them know. Like I love it. I'm not being weird. I just really like your name because I write books and I'm always looking for those unique names that I could use in my books. And it's not that his name is unique. It's that it's just the way it's combined, the way it works. It just the thought of that name works. So
Right.
like I said, I'm not jealous. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not. But it's a good name, and he's a good dude. He is a good
Yeah.
dude. So,
Yeah. So
so
that's waiting for book 3. Now that I remember that, I got to go in and I got to make that little bit of a change and then get that cover done. And then Fred edited it for me, and then we just got to upload it. And then I, got to finish writing book 4, and then I can start on the finale to the series.
okay. Now, how we get from doing your life story to 5 novels? Like 5 novels. Like this is what it's supposed to be, a 5-part, correct?
Yes, it
How
is.
did you get to 5? Like you pre-planned all that. Like how did you get to 5? I'm doing 3 for my book series. You went up 5.
Well, like I was saying, in my head, it was supposed to be a fictionalized one novel of my life is what I was planning to do, was like fictionalize who I am, what I do, something like that, the things I've been through. And people just loved Beautiful. They were like, oh, I can see this on the screen. This needs to be a play. You need to get this to Tyler. Like all of this type of stuff people were saying, but they really wanted to learn more about the characters. So I thought I could do one book per character in my head. But like I said, some of the characters are married. And I guess I could have done a book one per, but it just didn't make sense because book 2 focused on mainly 2 characters already. Book 2 was going to focus on the married couple. So that was already 4 characters out of the 5 taken in the first 2 books. So I just kept it as 5 books and just introduced new people into the story and still kept with the kind of fictionalizing my life, my trauma, my past into the characters. So everything in the books is not something that I've been through. It could be something, that I've seen, something that somebody that I know went through. But I think because of that, it's been very relatable. People have said that it's very relatable. They can see themselves, or they know someone who, has gone through that. They know somebody like this. I went through this. It does have some religious parts to it, but it's not a Christian novel. I've been told that because there's some language in there. And, oh, if you have swearing in the book, it can't be a Christian book. Oh, she drinks, so it can't be a Christian book. And I'm just like, so they got to be perfect in order to be Christian. Is that what you're trying to, in order? Not that I was trying to sell it as a Christian book, but I mean,
No, because you weren't.
I really wasn't. But even to like get interviewed on a Christian show, they wouldn't do it because, oh, or your character, one of the characters was at a bar and she was drinking, so we can't really, we can't have our people go out and buy that book. So it's whatever. It didn't hurt my feelings. I just was like, I didn't know Christians were perfect and never do anything wrong, or they don't know anybody who swears. Like all my characters don't swear. It's, by no means that type of book, but we all know somebody in our lives. If, they told my story, they're going to have to talk about somebody who swears, and if they're going
Mhm.
to say what he said and he uses that vernacular, then they're going to say that because that's how that person talks. And he's part
Right,
of the
right.
fight, so I can't ex-nay that. So these characters are five very unique characters, and they all have their own backgrounds and they all have their own things, that they've been through. So in the 5 books, that's what comes out. It's called the Beautiful Mess series, is what I entitled it, because it really, really, what I wanted it to do is really speak to how we can get drawn into things that on the outside look good. You know, one of the characters has always dreamed of being a singer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with going after your dream, but how you go about going after your dreams can be a problem. What you're
Hmm.
willing to do to make your dreams come true, the situations that you get into because your pride says, I don't need nobody's help. You can't tell me nothing. Even though you might know somebody who knows more about the business than you don't want to hear it because you don't want nobody telling you what to do. And then you end up in situations that, had you listened, you wouldn't have gotten into. So life is beautiful. Some of our intentions can be beautiful, but if we aren't careful, we can go down a really dangerous rabbit hole, or just a hole that we didn't intend on going on, and find ourselves in very dangerous situations or bad situations or whatever type of situation. But so that's really, that's where the series title came from, the Beautiful Mess series.
And see, that's real talk right there, because life, it can be crazy. Life can take those turns. Um, one little action or one little word can turn everything around, can
Yeah.
change a little bit of everything. And there's things that we face, which is real. That's why when you mentioned, the discrepancy with religious, like, interviews and all that stuff, and how, no, you can't do that because she was in a bar, or she smokes, or she swears. But this is real life. We're not saying, it's not being promoted that this is what you should do. We're saying this is what's real.
Right.
And when you put it in the book, book one, I love.
Thank
Um, I do. I love that book because it was real. Um, I thought your technique for writing was good, was great. I loved it. I could relate to your writing as an author myself. I could relate to that. So yeah, you did your thing on book one. Um, I have to read book two. I'm anxious for book three. And I really want to see how this series ends, because there's a lot going on. Y'all, she gives you a lot in this book. In all of these books, she gives a lot. So it's worth reading. It is so worth reading because it keeps you busy, keeps you thinking. You start to sit back and cheer for some characters. You want to shoot other characters. Like it, you know. And I always say that any book that you write, or any movie that you make, any TV show that you watch that sparks emotion out of you is good. If you're
Right.
sitting there and you're bored reading it, watching it, then, but then again, not everything is for everybody.
True.
But whatever it is that you do like, it should spark some type of emotion.
Yeah.
That's when it's something good that you can relate to, that you love, that you like, and that you can continue getting into.
Yeah.
Now, has it been hard writing? Because I know that originally you wanted to venture into, originally it was supposed to be a bio for
Yes.
you,
Right.
but it turned into something a little different. So
Hmm.
with that in mind, I know that little bits and pieces of reality may have been thrown in.
Yeah.
Was it hard to write? Because I know, being who I am to you, I know that reality is kind of hard. I understood. This is why it turned into something else other than a bio. And
Right.
that happens. You're trying to write your own biography. Sometimes it's just not easy to do. What were the hard parts about writing this series thus far?
So that goes into the question someone asked was what made you write the series?
Mm-hmm.
Tony said it was originally supposed to be my autobiography. It was supposed to be a poetry book that turned into an inspirational 365 days of inspiration that turned into my autobiography that turned into the series. So that's kind of the evolution of where the series came from. And I could not write my story. One, it was too hard. And two, I just couldn't get the storyline straight. I just, because I've moved here, there, like, and I do not remember even back in 2000, in 2001, whenever back then, I couldn't get the timeline right. Did I live with my aunt and then my dad, or my dad and then my aunt and then my mom and then my grandmother and then my friend, or how did, so it was just crazy. So I decided I'm just gonna write a story. I'm just gonna sit down and I'm just gonna start writing and see what happens. And I can be as creative as I want. I could be as open as I want. But I think I could mentally tell myself, you're not writing about you, you're writing about these characters, and you could put you into the characters, but nobody has to know it's you.
Mm.
And because that's the other part that's scary about writing your autobiography is the people that you have to out when you tell your story. Now it's out there and it's in the public. Even if certain people know bits and pieces of your life and know certain things you went through, it's different when they see it in black and white. It's different when, people, we lost him. When people see you in black and white, that this is the stuff that you went through. So that was also part of my fear when it came to writing my autobiography. So writing it in a fictional way was easier, and the story just kind of flowed through me. It just kind of came out. Book one just kind of came out, and then, like I said, it just evolved into a series of books where I could tell the story.
Yeah, looks like Mr. Wade.
Yeah, something happened. Oh, it kicked him out too.
Look like Mr. Wade got booted.
He got booted. It kicked him out too.
Well,
So let me see if I can get him back in really quickly. So what's going on, Fred?
not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. So let's see if we can get Mr. Tone back up in here. So, but not a whole lot, man.
Yeah. So I mean, you're an author too. So how, how did you get there?
You good, bro?
I am good. I got kicked out of my own show. Like I'm feeling some kind of way.
Oh Lord.
But it's all good. It's all good. The toaster is back in full effect, ready to go. Get back into the man cave. How you doing there, Fred?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Doing
How
well?
y'all doing? Yeah.
Listen, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful day.
Yeah.
Can't
It is,
complain.
bro.
And if I could complain, it wouldn't do any good. So I'm not going to complain. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do what I got to do. We in a new year. We doing new things.
But sheezy.
Yeah, man. Trying.
So I see that you were interviewing Miss Kai. So I'm gonna let y'all get back into it.
Okay. It's always a pleasure having you around, man. Always a pleasure.
Well, I'm gonna stick around in the background.
Stick around in the background. I like that. That's a song.
Just in case you get booted again.
That's a song. Stick around in the background. I think I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write it.
Well, let me get out y'all way and let y'all do what y'all do.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So again, sorry about that, Kite.
It's okay.
Things happen. This is why I don't deal with technology. This is why I can't. I just can't get kicked off your own show. Well, how's that happen?
Technology.
But okay, going back to what we were saying.
Yes.
Now, I understand there are hard parts to writing a biography.
Right.
But because of the fact that there were little bits and pieces of you in the book, What was the hardest thing to write? What was the hardest part to do in this book? Outside of, I mean, what? Let's get to the point of the matter. What was it that was at this point
Hmm.
the hardest part, the hardest thing for you to have to write? Or what was the hardest process to this for you? We'll make it easy. What was the hardest process?
Um, it wasn't in the beginning. My kids were little when I first wrote this. I don't think they weren't older. Um, so you would think that would be harder writing. I actually had an easier time writing when my kids were little than I did
Mm,
as they got older. Um, so writing wasn't really the hard part. Um, and the story really, book one just flowed. It evolved though. Editing has been my hard part. That has been my Achilles heel with every book. Everybody loves the story. Everybody has always loved the story, even from the beginning. Love the story, but who edited it? Love the story, but who edited it? Love the story, but who edited it? So that's probably why book three has sat for so long, because I'm just terrified to get that again. Book one and book two has been edited, and we had a publisher, we had a different publisher, we've had three publishers, and even with that, people were saying the same thing. So editing has been my fear as a writer moving forward, because I'm just the writer. It's like, being a singer, and you sing it, you do your best, and then you give it to somebody who mixes it and masters it, and then your record label puts it out, and everybody's like, well, who mixed that? That sounds like crap. And you're like, oh my God, you know what I mean? So it was like, for me, editing is like the mixing and mastering of your music, so
mhm,
it compares. So that's been my hardest thing. The writing wasn't as hard, because I could trick my brain to say, I'm not writing about me. I'm just writing the story. These are these characters' lives. It's not your life. Even if I'm putting my own personal experience into what I'm having my characters go through, I know this would happen like this because I went through this. He's going to say that because I remember, myself being told that. I still can tell myself it's not you, it's the characters.
mm,
Um, but for me, it's just been the feedback. I'm very, very critical on myself. I expect perfection from myself. So when I get those, it was really good, but, and it's just like, but what? Like, what happened? What what, like, ooh,
uh,
babe, dinner was good, but what do you mean? But the rice was a little crunchy.
mm,
So that has been my hardest part. And now with book three sitting for as long as it has, it's been done. I've gone back, done some rewriting, because every time someone says, hey, when are you ever going to drop book three? It's like, oh yeah, book three is sitting. So you go back, you reread, this, you go back, you
mhm,
reread, you figure out, why did I say that like that? Or how come, or you catch something and now you're
mhm,
rewriting. Like book one was probably this big and now it's this big. Like I think it started at like 100 and something pages, maybe close to two, and now it's closer to three. Like book one is definitely way bigger, and book two isn't as big as book one either. So I did kind of trim book one down a little bit. I mean, book two down a little bit, but book one grew over all of the rewrites and stuff. Book one
mm.
grew, and then book two, I didn't really have to do a lot of rewrites. I think I kind of pretty much knew what I wanted to say in book two. And then in book three, the same thing. I think as you go, you kind of get your footing. You know what you want to do. You know what you want to say. You kind of know how you want to do things. And so now it's just been a really, really long time since I've touched the series. So now going back into book four at this stage in my life, and my eyes don't work as well. And thank God for, the computers that can read to you, so you don't have to sit there and, what is that saying?
Now,
You know,
see, I love that. I love that. And you taught me to do that. But I'll write a paragraph and then I'm a slow reader. I'm, I might be a fast writer. I'm a slow reader. So having the computer read back what I've written, it works for me. And I love it. I feel like I'm being read to. But and especially when it's my book. Oh my goodness. But see, this is the reason, like for me, Um, I'm not gonna say I don't take criticism well, because I do, especially when it's constructive. Um, but I'm also not one to go back. I don't like going back and redoing things. I don't. So I have a habit, which I mean, you've tried to get me out of, but I have a habit of continually going over my stuff. I will read something 3 and 4 times to make sure that it's what it's supposed to be before I move on. Because, and then I have a bad habit of, well, if I'm on chapter, say I'm on chapter 12, I might need some information from chapter 5. And while I'm reading chapter 5, I may see that I wrote something that makes me ask myself, were you asleep when you wrote that? So then I'll try to fix it there. So I spend a lot of time on my books because of the editing. Like, I tend to self edit. So by the time it gets to somebody where they may have had to fix 10 things, now they only got to fix 2 or 1, because I tend to go back and I'm constantly doing that. You've told me when I do that, it prolongs the process of the writing, which it does. So I got you on that. It really does. But I say that to say that I think the reason why I don't have that particular fear is because of the fact that I'm constantly going back. And I'm not advocating for anybody to go back over your book 1,000 times, or even as many times as I do. All I'm saying is, for me, I tend to, like, okay, I know the editor's there to fix the mistakes.
Right.
But when I hand somebody my stuff, I don't want them to see mistakes. Because I think it's a little thing I have in my head. I don't want them to see the mistakes.
Right.
So I'm like you in that instance. It's like I really don't want you to come back. Because when I did, like I said in our interview on Monday, when you interviewed me, my first book was, I was in high school, and the teacher gave it back with a bunch of red marks. A bunch of red marks. And it wasn't that she didn't like the book. She loved it. She just, as far as editing went, she had a lot of edits that she felt I could change to make it even better than it was. And I took that and ran with it because it was constructive. She never said anything negative about the book, but those red marks stayed in my head. So I have the same type of fear that you have when it comes to people coming at my book, with the edits and
Well, see, and I tell you all the time, you can go over it and go over it and change it and change it. And it does not mean that when an editor gets to it, they're not going to find something. You
right,
can change the
right.
way you write a sentence 15,000 ways. You could, take a comma out, put a comma in. Like, it drives me crazy. I go through, with my Microsoft Word, I let it go through. I have Grammarly now. So I let that go through. And then it drives me crazy when Grammarly or, Microsoft would be like, put a comma. Then I put the comma. Then I go back and it says 1 error found. Take the comma out. Take the comma out, refresh, put the comma in, make up your mind. Like, do you want the
Yeah.
comma or do you do not want the comma? Like, it does that with the word spoonfuls. It'll
Well, here's
put a
another thing, because you mentioned that we had an editor a while back, and I had an editor that took my book, and by the time they were done with my book, it was a different book.
right,
And I think editors have to be mindful and careful, because they tend to, if you don't have the right editor and they don't know what you're doing with your book and they don't have a feel for it, somebody that's editing can go in there, and some mistakes that are made on purpose,
right.
based on dialogue, the type of person that's speaking in it. Sometimes it's not always about that comma, but that comma can be tricky.
Well, yeah, I
That,
mean, it just drives me crazy because I just like when you make up your mind, like whenever I write the word spoonfuls, like she had spoonfuls, it'll put an apostrophe and then it'll take it out, and it'll put it in, then it'll take it out, and I'm like, which way do you want me to write the word? Like, I don't
mm,
understand. Like, if you put a comma in and you take a comma out, or it wants me to like never say, if I say, I don't know, I must do something, it'll always tell me to take out the word must and, use it for something else. And I'm just like, I don't want to always do this word that you want me to use because now I'm being repetitive using that word. Can you give me another word? Can you give me an option? You know, so I mean, using the thesaurus is really, really good. Now there's AI where you could, you know, put in, you know, I want a mother and son having an argument about son going to a party, and AI will come up with some type of conversation for you that you can tweak to fit. You know, I mean, it's crazy where the world has gone to now. You know, same thing with song lyrics and everything else, but it's crazy how far the world has come. But I absolutely, it's helped me so much with just being able to let the computer read it to me instead of me having, because and I know you do, I type faster
Mm-hmm.
than I, you know,
And you
I
think
think faster
sometimes.
than I type, I guess is what I'm
Right.
thinking. So I'm thinking it and I'm typing, but I might miss a word. I might, you know, miss a whole
Mm-hmm.
phrase or something. But in my head, I think I wrote it down. And when I'm reading it, my mind is reading it the way it intended me to write it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't always catch it, which is why we should not edit our own books, because our mind reads it the way it knows we wanted it to go. So when I let the computer read it to me, then
Mm-hmm.
I catch more. Like, oh wait, there's a whole word missing there. You know, like it's not he went high there. He went to his. It's supposed to be his sister's house, not high sister house. But the
Mm-hmm.
computer doesn't catch that as being wrong because high is a real word. So it doesn't
Yeah.
catch that it's not supposed to be high. It just catches that it's supposed to say, you know, it only catches, you know, errors. Um, I gotta go hop out for a second. Fred said he will hop in. I gotta go check on dinner because I don't want to burn it. So Fred said he will hop in and I'm gonna hop out.
Yo,
That was a quick hop. That was a real quick hop. How you
yeah,
doing there, Fred?
I'm good. I'm good there, sir. So I hear
But
y'all talking.
listen, now that I
Yeah,
have
talking
you,
about books and stuff.
I know now that and you're an author.
Yeah.
So tell us what you have going on.
Well, in in November 24th of last year, I released my third poetry book in the Soul series of, it's called Avenues: The Traveling Soul. And anybody who's looked at my last three books, there's a recurring theme to that. And
Mm,
each one, all of them is with the word soul. And again, these are just kind of like thought processes or ideas or just things that I thought about that I put in word form, put in poetry form, poetic form. So
mm.
I have a lot of thought processes about religion. Well, had a stuff poems I wrote about religion, poems I wrote about how we get along, how we as black men and black women get along with each other. Um,
Now,
poems
Steve, that
works
it,
about. I've written something about how, you know, how I feel about my girl. Um, it's a lot of things. So basically, how I do this, I really just put me on display. Um, my thoughts, my emotions, um, how I feel about certain subjects.
how hard was
How
that to do for you to put yourself out there on that block? How
uh,
how how hard was that for you?
it was, to say the least, to say the very least, there was a degree of difficulty attached to it. The reason I say that there was a degree of difficulty attached to it because um usually in because you're an author, anybody who's an author that knows is that, you know, anytime that we write stuff, our a lot of our truths or a lot of the things that we feel or we been through, it transfers from the heart to the page, transfer from the
Mhm.
heart to the page.
Mhm.
And a lot of what I wrote had a lot of um emotional oomph to it.
Mm.
A lot of things, a lot of stuff that I wrote were a lot of things that I've written, even up to now, always have an emotional tie to it. Whether
Mm.
it's me talking about um how I me talking about the person I was up to the person I am, whether I'm, exploring what I felt, what I thought marriage was. Now those two thought processes was in my first book called Tapestry, the Interwoven. So again, I'm putting my own self out there on display because
Mm.
I think that for me doing that, it allows people to kind of see that, hey, he's a dude, he's going through this too. So it's something that I can resonate with, something that
Yeah.
I can get behind. And I know some of the things that I write doesn't won't always agree with a lot of people. And I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't I
See
don't worry about
that I have to applaud you for that type of project, because I don't know that it would have been something that I could have done, um, because of the hurt that I may feel, while I was writing it, that the emotion that would come up. I'm a I'm an Aries. We're headstrong. We, we like to lead the course and everything like that. But our emotions, we do react to our emotional state. And for me, doing what you did is huge. And it's something that I think I could find myself getting very emotional over it.
oh, I mean,
Very, probably
oh
be
trust
hard for me to even finish,
trust
you
me, oh
know?
trust me, brother. Trust me, and trust me. That a lot of stuff that I wrote was not without emotion. I
Mm.
think a lot of things that I do write, there's I think a lot of things that I write or is supposed to trigger a certain emotional response.
Now, is that from you or from the reader or from both?
It's both because for me it's emotional. It's emotional because I wrote it because
Mhm.
I put it on the paper. It's emotional because
Mm.
it's something that I pulled from my life and my experiences, and then I translated to the page. Um, a good example would be the first book that I ever wrote, and it's 4 characters, and I had never written anything. I never written anything that was geared that was geared. I never written a woman character,
Mm.
and to write about a young lady who was emotions, who was physically who abused herself in an emotional and mental way, but also was um consistently um consistently being abused by other people, and to have a pivotal moment in that book to where she has this a greatest emotional upheaval with herself, and she's tired of what she's doing and she wants to try to change. That was a hard thing to write for me because for me it was I was literally writing literally writing about myself.
Mm.
Someone who had been through a lot of emotional upheaval, someone who had been through a lot of things, um, and had just wanted to escape those things or to the very least change. So that's change for the better. So that way you could put that stuff, I could put that stuff behind me and move towards better things. I think everything that I've written has an emotional impact to it. It is not because it is not purposefully. I don't write it on purpose or anything like that. I just write it because I write from my experiences. I think we all write from our experiences, whether it's fiction or not, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. A
Mm.
part they're a part of there's a small truth that we add in our stories
Mm.
about us.
Yeah. Because and I'll never let anybody tell me or anybody else that they can't write in the role of the opposite sex, because I know I've been doing it. My main character is a female, and she's a strong female. So, like that part that you just said, where it's like we put a part of ourselves in, she's got that part, that mindset that she has, that Sybil, my character, has. That's me. That's me. The dreams that I have of being as strong as she actually is, and being able to travel the world. I do that. You know what I mean? Um, Tell me, Kai, when you wrote your book, did it spark, as you're writing your series, are you getting that emotional spark as well? Like, are there things that you've written into the books that when you go back, you read it, or as you were writing it, it sparked emotions?
There's a character that comes out in book. I was gonna say Fred, you ain't have to go. There's a
I
character
know.
that comes out in book 2. The beginning of book 2. That particular character, her storyline sparks a lot of emotion for me. Um, she's about as vulnerable as I was, and I have been, growing up. Everything that I put her through aren't things that I went through, but some
Mm,
of the things that she's gone through, just her personality, her she's looking for love. She, and not finding it at home and not getting it from home and not feeling loved at home, and, looking for it in all the wrong places, and ends up in bad relationships and things like that. But there's a lot that her character goes through that it was hard to write. It was really hard to write her.
mm.
And
Well,
she's not
see,
one of the characters. She's more of a supporting character. But
and I believe in that, and I believe that when I believe wholeheartedly when we write a book, what we're intending to write, as we write it, those emotions are actually put into those words. Like those, what we write translates into the computer or onto the paper. And when it comes out, it comes out. Like when people read it, that's what they're reading. They're reading that emotion. And like I said in the beginning, I believe that when you do read something, write something, watch something, it should spark some type of emotion. I honestly believe it should make you feel, because you're there. You
right,
know, it should put you, what you're reading should draw you in and put you in that movie or in that TV series, or I in that book. I tell you how many times I've cried watching a TV show. Like and I think we may have all have done it, but or watching a movie. Oh my goodness, like not to go spiritual. Sorry people. But when I went to the theater to see Passion of Christ, at the end of that, I've never seen, I've gone to thousands of movies. I've never seen an audience respond like they did to the end of that movie. Like when the credits were done, as the credits were rolling and when they were done, people were still just sitting in their seats. They weren't talking. You could hear people crying or at least sobbing. Um, and it was just dead silence in the theater. Nobody wanted to move. And I had never experienced that before, but I'm like, I can remember thinking, this is what the movie experience is about. This is awesome right here. I would like to write something where it just drew people in
right.
like that.
Yeah. And then you got stuff that's just straight, for lack of a better word, just ass.
True enough. True
So
enough.
There's always a flip side. Yeah.
There
I
is a
mean,
flip
so
side.
I'll say
Always.
I'll say this for that part of it. You know, for me, there are some movies that have been expertly written, and then you have stuff that's just horrible. Um, For example, a lot of DC Universe movies are, kind of like that.
Well, Tony and I were just saying this. Like they do good TV shows. They
But they do
do
horrible movies.
movies, right?
And
Right.
it's almost the reverse for
With
Marvel.
Marvel, right?
Almost.
But see, the thing with me is, see, I'm a comic book person. I'm a comic book person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a comic book and I'm a manga person. I'm an anime person. So if you're gonna do something based on a character, make sure that it's canonically correct, or as
Yeah.
close as canonically correct as you can get it.
Yeah.
Because if you go too far left or too far right, or if you stay too rigid, then the product's gonna be kind of blah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as wonderful as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, there's some movies that's been great and wonderful. Then there's some that ain't been so great and ain't been so
Oh yeah.
wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, for me, as a writer, as all three of us are, I'm more interested in how. Of course, I'm going to watch the movie for what it is and the characters and the action and the bombastic scenes and stuff like that. But I also want to see how these writers develop the characters. How do they change? How do they change from one state to another? How does the character how does that character evolve, or better yet, how does that character devolve?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of character build up, like again, I get like it blows my mind every time I say it, but 5 books, a 5-book series, Kai. How hard is it to establish your characters in your book? Because they weren't all patterned after you. You know what I mean? So
No.
how hard is it, one, to develop the characters in your series for you? And two, do you have a problem? Do you struggle with writing the male parts in your series?
So for one, the 5 main characters, I knew who I wanted them to be, I kind of pre-planned that part. These are the 5 main characters, Tierra, Q, um Shirese and Sean and Vito. So I knew those were the 5 characters. I gave them all. Vito's the playboy. Q is he's the spiritual one. He's the very, very religious spiritual one. Tierra's the one that's got the broken past. So I kind of knew, okay, here's my lineup for my 5 main characters. So they weren't hard. Writing them wasn't really hard. It was more the supporting role people, the different people that they have to interact with, because you can't just make a story about these 5 people, like I said, that don't bump into, they don't leave the house. She got to go to work. So who's the people at the job that she's going to interact with? What's their personalities going to be like? How are they going to talk? How is she going to interact with them? Am I talking about her, getting to work, or is she just going to wake up and then be at work? All of that type of stuff. Is it important to mention the doorman? If she has one, is it important? All of these, the building up of the story was the little nuances for me, more so than, and then remembering all of those little things. I kept saying I was going to get a journal. I kept saying I was going to get a notebook. And I've had different notebooks. Y'all, I love notebooks, but I start a notebook, lose a notebook, start a new notebook, find the old notebook. So, but to keep track, Crystal Center Brown had told me about a program that can keep track of all of that stuff for me, and I keep forgetting the name of it. I think I did have it at one point, and but you can go in and keep track of all of your characters, and she's this age, so in book 1, if she's this age, and now book 5 is supposed to be maybe 5 years later, you can't say she's the same age.
Right.
So keeping track of all of those different things. What was the name of that person at her job that she can't stand? I want to call him Troy in book 1 and then call him Keith in book 3. Keeping track of all of those those little things were difficult for me. Writing the guy parts wasn't really hard for me. I haven't had anything guy related in the books so far that has really I think I've talked to you like a couple of times, you know, how would a guy say this? How would a guy approach
Mm-hmm.
this situation? Having a few men in my life that I can turn to be like, hey, this is the situation. Like when I went, one of the characters in there is a police officer.
Mm.
So I wanted to make sure that I got that part right. So, but it's funny how it's hard to reach out to people and say, "Hey, I'm looking for, you know, help from somebody in law enforcement so I can get my facts right on this book." And you think that people would be like, "Sure, I got you." You get a lot. Actually, you do get a lot of "Sure, I got yous," but you don't get a lot of actual follow through. You know,
Mm.
so having to Google stuff and look up stuff, and like you said, doing your research for your book, because it's not a fantasy book, so I do need to be correct. If it's a fantasy book, then I could make up whatever laws and, you know, things that I want it to be, but it's not a
Mm-hmm.
fantasy
Mm-hmm.
book. I mean, it's not a autobiography either, but I think people expect that if you're writing, you know, even if it's just regular fiction, that, you know, you're not saying something that's too far to the left of reality.
You're right. Now,
Well, yeah, I get that but it's also difficult when you, I mean, to pull to have those characters continue to be standouts or stalwarts in a book like that. I mean, that's a that's spanning 5 books, and through some. I mean, like I said, you know, I guess my thing is, you know, how do you put it to where to put them in situations to where they have to grow or they have to evolve. I mean, do you do you do you think that because you planned this out over 5 books,
Mhm.
did you have a plan in place to how each character evolves, um, and and how they would evolve?
I don't think I had a plan at the beginning, because at the beginning it was just supposed to be one book and that was that. And then I inadvertently left it kind of on a cliffhanger. And I didn't think it was a huge cliffhanger, but I guess it was enough of a cliffhanger for people in the original book for people to be like, what's going on? And then they wanted to know about the other characters. So the way that I've done the books, it's kind of given a chance, instead of looking at 5 characters all at once and writing a book about 5 characters and their friends and their this, I've kind of broke it down into smaller chunks. So like, though you meet all 5 characters in book 1, you get like a kind of feel for all 5 of them. The book is mostly about 2 of them. So you get introduced to them, but the storyline is really about 2. And that storyline does continue through the other 4 books, but then the next book focuses on another 2. And, you know, the story continues around them, because as Tony and I are married, and you might, you know, talk to us about things, we still have friends, you know what I mean? So we still connect with other people. We might, you know, be at Rage's house and Rage's, you know, going through stuff. So there's still the story still continues. So as the books progress, one story is continuing into book 2, but now there's a new main character in book 3. Everybody's stories continue, so you still get to see, well, how did these characters that left off here in book 1, what happens to them in book 2? And now they're here in book 2, they change in book 3, and everybody's story continues to grow, and there's new characters um in introduced. Like book 3 totally introduces a brand new character. Actually, she gets introduced in book 2, but she gets her own book in book 3. So she's not one of the top, you know, the first 5, but she ends up with her own book in book 3. And then in book 4, I kind of go back to that missing character. In book 4, that's the book that I'm writing now. So they do progress. They progress, they do evolve, they do, you know, kind of learn and grow over the course of the series of books. The only thing I have not figured out yet is how I'm going to end it. That is not planned yet. I don't quite know how I'm going to wrap them all up. It's been suggested, you could kind of make off stories and, just kind of keep this going. And now this one can have their series and that one can have their series. I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't. Once I finish book 4, I think I'll have a better kind of idea of what I want to do with book 5. But I don't know, because the way it is right now, I don't think I can just kind of wrap everything up in a nice little bun in book 5. So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I have to say, reading book 1, going into book 2, I do like how you've transitioned your characters and how you've transitioned from focusing on one thing to another. That's not something that's always easy to do when you're writing. And from what I read of your work, you have a nice way of tying things in or continuing them from point A to point C. I think you've done a good job thus far of getting that done. I think you've kind of, I don't want to say mastered, but yeah, I think you've mastered that so far. I think you're doing pretty good. Like, your book is a book I could pick up and I can read and I wouldn't want to put it down, because
Thank
it
you.
it does, you want to know what's going on and you fill in the blanks well. And I've been there with you through the writing experience that you've had thus far. And I mean, you did have book 1 written before I knew it was written, book 1, but I do know that what I read, I loved. I thought the transitioning went well, and that's not easy to do. My characters haven't had to. I did when I wrote book 3 for Vengeance, when I tried to change the genre, because of the way I did it, there had to be a growth. There had to be a difference. So I had to write those differences in. From the niece who was 5 years old to now
And
she's, well, I'm just saying, she's grown. I'm just saying, there's things that are there
you
that,
just, you just like giving away stuff. You just like giving away nuggets. Don't nobody know
listen,
about that.
it's,
Stop
but
it.
the thing is, it's a nugget. It's a nugget. And at the end of the day, you to know what I'm talking about, you got to read the book. You definitely got to read the book. But yeah, the transitioning is important, and I think you do a great job with it. Have you ever considered? I know you do poetry, and you're fantastic with that. Um, have you thought of doing any other genre other than the genre that you have? Like, I know you have complications with naming your genre. Like,
Yeah,
what
like I have
genre would
no
you?
idea. Somebody please read my books and tell me what genre they fall into, because right now I just call them fiction. Somebody said they're real life books. I'm like, that's not a genre. There's no genre called real life books. I have no idea what genre it falls into. But I have a poetry book that, or poems that I was planning to write, which is the title of my podcast, Behind the Eye of Kai, was going to be my poetry book. I did do an anthology with the erotic, and then I did a short story in erotica, which was like, woo, mind-boggling for me. That was probably the strugglingest book that I've ever written, because I really, really, really pushed myself to get out there, and I'm not comfortable saying certain things and talking about certain things. So like, to get in there and have to be detailed, it was like, I don't want to say that.
No, see,
Why do I have to type
y'all
that
that
word?
you, for those of you that know her and know what her poetry is like when she writes that, let alone when she says it, the way she says it, you would never think she had a conflict with writing that anthology that she wrote. I mean, I'll remember, even she turned a poem into a song. And when she performed it, as she was performing this sensual song, all of our friends were staring at me. All all of them were staring at me. And a lot of them were like, "Ooh, you in for it tonight?" So like she did that good of a job. You would never think she struggled in that area. But do you think you could write? Do you think you'd be able? How comfortable do you think you'd feel writing in another genre?
Well, I started you and we were supposed to write a fantasy sci-fi type book together, and that book is still in my head. Like the storyline, I think I started it at some point, or started a sci-fi-ish type story. I really do, because that you have no rules to a sci-fi fantasy book. Like it's all pretend, like fiction, fiction, fiction. You can write whatever you want. They can have 3 arms and 2 legs and 6 heads. You can do whatever you want. There's no rules to that. So I really, but you still gotta evolve the characters. You still have to make this, the story make sense. You don't want to just throw a bunch of things into a pot and then call it soup. So I have a cookbook in mind. The fantasy book. I do have this other book in mind. So I've had books, short stories and books planned that, back when I was really, really doing this and focused. I have started several different books. I really do want to push myself. I want to get back into my writing the way that I was before. So I want to finish this series, get the poetry book out, get the cookbook out, do the fantasy book, do this other. I actually think this other book is kind of like a fantasy book, but it's, like one of those books that's like somewhere in the future, but it's supposed to be like, with regular humans and all of that type of stuff, but somewhere in the future. So I don't know if that's sci-fi fantasy. I don't know. But I have one of those. So those are like the 3 books besides finishing my series that I've already started that I just want to get done. Where it goes after that, I don't know.
Okay. So what do you have in store for us for 2024?
2024, you're going to get book 3 and you're going to get book 4, most definitely in 2024. You're going to get both of those. I want to say by April, you're going to get book 3, preferably by my birthday. You're going to get book 4. So I want to be done writing book 4 by April. So then I can drop book 3. And then if I have book 4 done, then I can take April to July, April, May, June. I can take those 2 months, get the cover done, get all of that stuff done, get it edited and everything. At least by August, by the end of this summer, I want to have book 4 done and out. Then I can start writing book 5. And then 2025, you'll get book 5.
Ooh, game plan.
And I want to do, my goal is to start doing some visuals for the series. So the people that I have as characters, these are real people that I know. So what I want to start to do is to start putting together, little, maybe not the whole chapter, but, little snippets of the book in visual form. So, not like a trailer, but just, like little scenes from the book. I really, really want to start doing that. So, I've been looking. So if you're watching and you're local and you want to be a part of it, let me know. If you're somebody who does videography or whatever, and you want to help, let me know. Volunteer basis though, for right now. Listen, I'm just putting it out there. Volunteer basis, but we never know where anything can go. Listen, if we can get a grant or something to put this together, I'm all down for trying to help and pay people, because I think people should get paid for, what they do. But sometimes we got to crawl before we can walk. And if we could build this thing together, listen, I've done a movie for free. I've done it. I've done some plays for free, because you got to build, and it's not always about the experience. Sometimes it's just about believing in somebody else and believing in their vision and adding to, and it does add to your catalog. It adds to what you're doing, and, somebody might see you do something and be like, "Oh, I want them," So
now you wear a lot of hats. Oh my goodness. I thought I wore hats.
You have to get a wrap to hold all the hats down.
Let's say, yeah, you do. Like okay, so you're an author, you're a poet, you're an actress. which we don't tend to focus on enough, but you do act. You're also a cook.
Hmm.
So like with that, as far as that area goes, and yeah, she she's crazy with the cooking. She's crazy. Like she's got that Cuban blood in her. So basically when she cooks for 20 people, although there's only 3 people in the room. She'll cook for 10, 20. So you ever need food, you know where to go because
Yeah.
she cooks. The leftovers go crazy inside of our fridge. But with that, when do you think we can expect the cookbook?
Um, when I learned how to, like, I put it out there. I said, listen, if there was a cookbook that just gave you the ingredients, that was just like, okay, so we're making chicken and dumplings, and you're gonna need some chicken, you're gonna need some flour, you're gonna need some of this, but they don't tell you how much. Like, would that be a hindrance? Some people said yes, some people said no, because everybody doesn't cook, with a teaspoon. Now, if you're baking, you need exact measurements. When it comes to baking is an exact science. You need this many eggs and you need this many, this much of that. That's different. But when you're making spaghetti, like I might put a teaspoon of sugar, you might put no sugar. You know what I mean? So if for me, I just pour into the ancestors, say stop. So I don't I haven't figured out how to get the exact amounts because some people want exact amounts, but I'm still like, you're still going to taste it and you're going to adjust for you. So I don't know. I mean, it might be a first for me. I might just put it out and see what people think. Like, these are the ingredients. If I know how much, I'll tell you. If I don't, I'm not going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you this is what I used and you can figure it out. I use 1 onion and I use some salt and pepper. And, so you could put as much salt and pepper in there as you want. And I think that's been my holdup with the cookbook is I just don't know the exact measurements, but I really think I'm just going to put it out there into the universe, and if people like it, they like it.
Now, again, most people, and I don't know anybody that doesn't, most people love Kai's cooking. Most people like they go crazy over it. We have friends right now. She got at one point you got into the desserts. So we have a friend, they don't eat like she doesn't eat desserts. She doesn't she's not into the sweets, but she'll eat Kai's snacks that she makes and only hers. And we just went to an event where they were selling something that was similar. I'm not gonna bash anybody. I'm not because I don't bake like that. But our friend went to purchase one and I just asked her, and this was a couple weeks ago, and I asked her, did you, did how was it? And she's like, it's still in the fridge. She, she said it's still in the fridge. But she said that when Kai makes it, she makes it with love, and that's the difference. Um, she puts everything into what she does, and she is her own worst critic. So if she messes up, she hits herself harder than anybody else could on it. And I could think it's great, but if she knows she did something a little off, she really comes hard on herself. So that's why I asked about that cookbook because I think that people would love that cookbook. I think you put your measurements in and then tell them they can adjust. Just like the shows that we watch, this is what I put in. This is how, this is how much flour, this is how much sugar, let them know. This is what I do. You might not want to do that. If you don't, that's okay, or you may want to adjust. But
Yeah,
I
I,
think that
I just got to know what my measurements are. That'd be my thing. I don't know. Like, someone was like, well, when you start to pour, put something underneath it so you can catch it and then measure it and then pour it in there. I'm like, that's just too much. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna shake my thing onto a piece of paper and measure it and be like, okay, that's 5 grams. Okay, now we're gonna dump it in. Like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I could guess. I could guesstimate, I know what about a teaspoon, looks like. I think, um, but I think I am going to try to just put the ingredients, and you know, we'll see. I think some people would appreciate, would be able to figure it out.
Mav wants a cookbook by Kai. Mav, how you doing, Maverick? She wants a
Yeah.
cookbook by Kai. I think it would be an awesome book. I know that you do have lives that you do. What are the name of those lives?
When Love Cooks.
See, look at her. Look at her. When Love Cooks. Oh my goodness. And it's not a lie. It's not a lie. Now listen, we have it's 20 past the hour here, and I'm gonna end this live. I'm gonna end this podcast in like 10 minutes. Give me before I do, give me a breakdown of what's going on musically with you, because that's another hat you wear. You are so multi-talented, it's crazy. It's crazy. I am beyond blessed that I even know you. But like you do music. So take a couple minutes, tell us what's going on with music.
Musically, I am getting ready to. MBS Malay is about to be my vocal coach. Shout out to MBS Malay. I am so
Yes.
excited to be doing that. Love you, Mav. And say hi to the boys for us, please.
Yes. Say hi.
So with that being said, I have the Pitts, Jerome Pitts is working on my song Butterfly. So we're gonna rework that, and he's gonna remix it, remaster it. We're gonna re-record it. Also, MBS Malay is going to hop on the song with me. I'm like so excited about that. So that's one thing that's in the works. You and I are working on a duets album. We have several tracks of that already in the works. And I have a bunch of songs that are almost done, or that, they just need some tweaking for my first official album. Like I did an EP when we were with, Page the Label. And so this will be my first official album. This will be my first official album, on my own, and it won't be an EP. And it'll be songs that, I've done over the past year and a half. So that's, what's going on there. We have a few projects, three projects that we're working on, and learning how to mix, really diving into, YouTube to learn how to mix better, to learn how to use different things better, so that I can really hone in and focus and get my sound to be better.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Because not only does she sing, but she writes her music. I mean, sometimes she gets a little help from me. Like, she gets a little help. But she writes music, and she's a great arranger. She arranges music like nobody's business. But not only does she do that, she also engineers. Like I said, this woman has so many hats. It's hard to see her head. She's got a ton of hats that she wears. She is so multi-talented. I love that. She stays busy. She may have one too many hats, but she wears a lot of hats. So she also engineers, and she's engineered my music. And I just, I'm in awe of the abilities that you have. The things that you do are crazy. And we've only skimmed the top of the hats that you wear. We've only listed a few. Like it goes on and on, from jewelry to makeup to, oh my goodness. Like, this woman is multitasking. She has her own businesses. She helps me. She is a co-owner to my company, Diamond Star Entertainment. She helps run that. She is a co-owner. She wears a lot of hats. She can do web pages. Oh my goodness. I could go on and on, but that would take another hour. She is multi-talented, and I appreciate that in you. I appreciate what you do. Tell the folk where we can find you at, and where we can actually find your music as well.
So me personally, now I've switched my name. So I am now Diamond Butterfly. As you see on the screen, that is exactly how you can spell it. DYMOND. Everywhere. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. I think that's everywhere that I am, that I know of. You can find me, Diamond Butterfly. I'm on Reverb Nation, SoundCloud, um, also under Diamond Butterfly. Spotify. My music is under Caixa Rodriguez, and I'll put that in the thingy so that y'all can see how to spell that. And that is for my music and my books. Um when I drop the new album, it will be under Diamond Butterfly, and I will probably update my books, probably, or I may keep it as Caixa Rodriguez for the books and the music, and then anything else that I do, what, at least my books I may keep as Caixa Rodriguez because that's already been established, and then my music I will switch over to Diamond Butterfly. Anything that I put out going forward will be under Diamond Butterfly for my music.
Wow. If y'all need food, desserts, call her.
Makeup, you need your makeup done, hit me up.
Yeah, hit her up on her. Yeah, oh my goodness, forgot the makeup. Does makeup like crazy, like nobody's business. Like she does tutorials. She has companies that she works with concerning makeup. And, for a few years there, I was literally every Christmas, birthday, Valentine's, I was getting her palettes because she was all in. All in that shelf. A lot of that shelf is what I did for her. Like she just has a lot of stuff she does, and she's very good at it. It was my honor and privilege to be able to interview you and let the people know exactly what it is that you do. And again, we only skim the surface. Like this woman is multi-talented. I don't think she knows the extent of how talented she actually is. So if you have her on Facebook, Instagram, you go to her YouTube page, whatever it is, give her a shout out. Let her know that you appreciate her, that you recognize her, and try to let her know that she is all that and then some, because she is, and she tends to self-doubt. But the proof is in the pudding. I got what I did there. The proof is in the pudding. She has people that want her music. She has people that want her food. She has people that want her to do their makeup. She does hair. I mean, what don't you do? I'm having a hard time. She went to school and she knows how to build stuff. Like, I think the only thing she may not do is automotive. And I wouldn't be surprised if she does. But
no,
I think that's the only thing that I've come across that she does not do is automotive. Other than that, I mean, she decorates like crazy. She could tear a room apart and put it back together again like nobody's business. So hit her up if you need advice, if you need direction, if you need something done, makeup, hair, whatever it is. If you're in the area, come by. She will take care of you. She has regular customers now. So I want to thank you for stopping in and sharing time with us tonight. It was awesome. I'm cutting it a little short because my brother need to eat, and I have to get up and get ready for work. I got to go to bed and get ready for work. So I'm gonna cut it a little short tonight, but it's been an honor and a privilege. I want to thank Fred for coming on and sharing the love and giving his comments. He's always a good support, and he is the man. He is a brother to me, so I appreciate him. I thank you all for stopping by on T Wade's To The Point. Next week, join me. Well, not next week. Well, next week it'll be Sofa Chat.
Again, yeah.
It'll be the two of us, Sofa Chats. Stop by, see us, get involved. The following Wednesday, because I'm every other Wednesday, I'm first and third Wednesday. On the third Wednesday of the month, stop by again for To The Point, where we will be talking music. We might start that on Sofa Chat next Wednesday, and just continue it and run a series. We will have guests. that will be on the show, and we're going to talk about the music industry. We're going to get to the point as to what's going on, what we feel is going on, what we would like to see, and what we're already seeing. We want to talk about the music. We want to talk about the artists and what they're doing and what they could be doing. We want to dive deep. We want to get hard, and we want to get to the point. So join me in 2 weeks for that conversation. It might just start next Wednesday, though. I'm thinking it might start next Wednesday on Sofa Chats. Join me, join Kaixa as we talk to you and bring you the best topics that we can. And again, sometimes our shows veer off. We could be talking about books 1 minute and then talking about elephants the next. It's all good because we're going to get to the point of the matter on everything. See, life is broad and it expands over different areas.
Right.
So sometimes you can't just stay on one topic. Sometimes you veer to the left and you go into something completely. That what I can promise you is whatever we veer into is just as exciting as what it was we were talking about when we started the conversation. So we're not going to drop the ball on you. We're not. It's going to all connect. We're not going to be talking about basketballs and then all of a sudden we're talking about car engines out of the blue. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Everything is connected. We're going to let you see that. And we're going to get to the point. Starting with Sofa Chats next week is going to be on. Also tune in to the other shows we have on Trailblazer Radio. Tune in. Find out what's going on. We have different shows happening all week long. We have hosts that are doing their thing. So join in. We have something for everyone. Everyone. With that said, we love you. We adore you and we thank you. And always remember to get to the point of the matter. Kaixa, thank you. Love you. Appreciate you. It was awesome. Thank you very much.
Let's end with a song.
Play a song for them. In the meantime, between time, we love you.
Show me, come and show me, baby. No room for doubt, baby. Not in my head. Pull me close and put your arms around me. No greater feeling than the love you give, baby.
I wanna love you, girl, like you never been loved before. Give you all your heart's desires and leave you wanting more. Yeah, you have my heart. All I am is yours. Baby, your search is over. You don't have to look no more. Just let me love you till the moon has gone away. Let me love you as the night turns into day. Let me love you till your heart is hurt no more. Let me love you. A world of love we can explore together. I've been looking for someone who will love me. Yeah. In a room full of people, you're the one I see. You're the one I see. And when we speak to each other, it's magnetic. I know without a doubt you're the one I wanna please.
Baby, when you're next to me, I feel butterflies inside. I can't believe our chemistry is so hot, should be a crime. Yeah, they can say what they want. My love is yours forevermore. You can always trust in me, cause my love is guaranteed.
Just let me love you.
Let me love you
till the moon has gone away. Let me love you as the night turns into day. Let me love you.
You won't hurt no
till your heart is hurt no more. Let me love you. A world of love we can explore together.
Come on, baby.
Hey, yeah.
You know what I want.
Purchase your tracks today.
I wanna love you.
Let me love you.
So what you wanna do?
Come on. Let me love you.
Let me love you.
Till the moon has gone away. Let me love you. Let me love you. As the night turns into day. Let me love you. Till your heart is hurt no more. Let me love you. A world of love we can explore. Let me love you. Till the moon has gone away.